Hey everyone, my name is David Rao, and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my videos and my content on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, and a variety of other places when you search for David Rao or Make Moments Matter. Tonight I'm going to be talking a little bit about an exciting new tool in my classroom and I'm using in my classroom, and I'll be talking through another use it and lose it idea, something that you want to get rid of in your classroom, something you want to embrace in your classroom. So I'm excited to get to that in just a second. If you are curious about anything that I talk about tonight or want to see more, on my blog makemomentsmatter.org you can check out the videos tab, or wherever you're watching, listening to this, there should be a link at the bottom of the caption so you can go straight there and find all the cool stuff linked directly for you on the links page. But if you hear me talk about the links page, that's what I mean. Also, there's a lot of other really great content in the weeks previous. This is week 13 of Musical Mondays just for this semester, but there are a bunch of other videos in the videos tab. If you want to go back to previous years, if you're like, hey, I want to look ahead at December lessons or other things, go back. There are like 5 years of other things there in case you're interested and you want to go back and pull some lessons to use in the coming weeks. Okay, a couple other things there. I've been trying to blog a lot more recently, so if you go to makemomentsmatter.org and click on the blog tab, I've been adding more posts. There are more coming up, just a few more that are coming out in the next week or so, with more content that I might have talked about in these videos, but maybe you want to go back and peruse it at your own speed. Go check that out. There, I'm going to be continually adding more, so check that out at your own time if you're interested, and look for more content coming out on my blog. On the blog part of my webpage, the blog there. Okay, one more thing before I get too far in. I know it's Cyber Monday, and a lot of you guys are like on the interwebs buying things right now. If you're interested, I have a brand new course on my page, which is courses.makemomentsmatter.org. This one is all about learning centers. It's all about using centers in the classroom, and how do you do that? What are the logistics? How do you figure out all of the questions behind how do you store things? How do you print things? How do you put kids in groups? How much time do they spend in groups? How do they rotate? Who teaches that? All of those questions are questions that I had, and so I put all of them together in one place. There are like 5 hours of content. You can watch it all at your own speed. And right now for Cyber Monday and tomorrow, because why not? If you use the code CYBER23, you get 25% off any of those courses. The Learning Centers course, the Puppets course, the Ukulele course, any of that stuff. If you're interested, I thought I'd throw that out there. It is a Cyber Monday and Cyber Tuesday deal. Woohoo! Okay, let's get to the content. So my use it and my lose it. I'm going to start with the lose it today. The thing that you should lose is the idea that you must have everything holiday themed, or that it needs to be seasonal, or it needs to be whatever. You don't. You can if you want, but you don't have to. Or you can do it in certain grades and not all grades. I'm just giving you permission that it is okay that you don't have to have everything holiday themed, seasonal. It doesn't. Being a music teacher doesn't have to work like that. I know a lot of people are really stressed because concerts are coming up. I am one of those people. So I know that there's a lot going on, but you don't have to make all of your other classes' lessons like perfectly themed. It doesn't all have to be Christmas or winter or Hanukkah or Thanksgiving or whatever. No matter what's coming up, you don't have to do something that is exactly that theme. You don't have to be like, oh, well, our rhythm thing has to be reindeer themed because it's... No, it can be just normal themed. That's fine. You can decorate if you want. If you don't want, you can. I mean, they're just. I'm just giving you permission to take what you want and use what you want, and not feel pressured to like make everything exactly themed and perfect every single time. You don't have to. So, for example, Thanksgiving just happened, and I do a lot of like winter holiday lessons, sort of. I do a lot of Nutcracker stuff. I do a lot of things that are sleigh or snow or whatever related. I don't really explicitly teach a lot of Christmas music, but I do a lot of books, a lot of storytelling, because a lot of stuff happens. So we do several books and songs about Hanukkah. We do some songs from the Christmas tradition. We work in some Kwanzaa. It depends on when things fall. But that happens over the course of December in multiple different grades. But it doesn't happen in all grades all the time. So, for example, my first graders learn the song "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," but the focus is on caroling, because the whole joke of that song is that it's carolers going back from one house to the next, and they want to sing and get hot chocolate or whatever, or wassail or figgy pudding or whatever, and so that whole thing is themed around that. But other than that, we don't do a ton of like other Christmas music. There's one grade that does the Nutcracker, and we spend a lot of time on the Nutcracker. Third grade does that. And we also do O Tannenbaum, but we talk about how O Tannenbaum comes as a song that was around long before the tradition of Christmas trees was ever a thing. And so we talk a little bit about that content. But also intermixed with those things in those two grades where it sounds like, oh, wow, you're doing a lot of Christmas music. No, there's also rhythm reading. There's also movement. There's also other books. There's also exploring and creating. I mean, it's not all just themed around the one thing. You can do it if you want. You don't have to if you don't want. Because like I said, I feel like some people have this thought that like, I must have everything perfectly themed for the season. And you don't. In fact, I know some people who teach at schools where they are not allowed to do any sort of seasonal or holiday things. Maybe that's due to religious beliefs of some of the students at your school, or maybe it's just a school policy or whatever. But all that to say, like, you don't have to do themed things if you don't want. A lesson that I really love that is like not really themed, but I don't know, it just sort of always falls this time of year, is my second graders, we learn the song Aiken Drum. And I know some people do that at other ages or whatever, but it just, for me, it falls sort of right in at second grade. And how do I connect it to Thanksgiving? Well, you don't have to do any of that. But for Thanksgiving, I talk about how like, oh, you've spent so much time talking about food. That makes me think. And that's sort of a lead-in, is talking about the food, all the foods we've eaten. What are some of the foods you've eaten? We sort of catalog some of those. Then we learn about Aiken Drum. We talk about people who've had this fantasy about a man who lives in the moon for hundreds of years. People have talked about that. I show a slide where they get to see how different cultures have seen different figures in the moon. So some people see a rabbit in the moon. Some people see a man holding like a burden on his shoulders with a little dog behind him. Some people see like a face. Some people see a woman with a necklace. And the slide has all those pictures. I pull up a huge picture of the moon, and we look at, we try and find our own things in there. What could you see? And then that leads into the lesson about Aiken Drum. There was a man lived in the moon, lived in the moon, lived in the moon. There was a man lived in the moon, and his name was Aiken Drum. And we go through the traditional versions, and his coat was made of good roast beef, of good roast beef, of good, like all these, like there are these traditional verses, and then I say, we could come up with some of our own. We could come up with some different things that Aiken could do. And then we spend the rest of our time, we do one as a class, like what can we make Aiken out of? His head could be a watermelon. His eyes could be eggs. His, whatever. And I try and give them this idea of like, what you're creating for Aiken needs to be related in some way to the body part. So if we're choosing something to replace a person's head, do you think it's a good idea to choose spaghetti? No, because that doesn't look remotely like a head. Okay, if you're going to do someone's head, would it be good to choose a hot dog? No, it looks nothing like a person's head. So instead we talk about like what would work, like watermelon, or if you want just the circle shape, maybe a pizza. Or something, but it needs to be sort of rounded, sort of, if you're going to go for 3D, it needs to be sort of more of a sphere-ish sort of a shape. And we talk about that. We make one as a class. I draw it out on the whiteboard, and then I let kids create their own in small groups. And the things I come up with are hilarious and fun and creative, and kids love that lesson. They love singing the song that goes with it. And I love getting some of that history and stuff in there. And it's sort of related. We're in a time of year where people eat a lot of food, and so you can keep those foods on your brain and think about what you could add in, but it doesn't have to be food related or Thanksgiving or whatever. It can just be a really great lesson that fits in with the curriculum you're doing at the moment and what works for your kids. That's okay. If you want to see the Aiken Drum resource that I use, you can go to the links page, and on there it says like Aiken Drum Favorite Folk Song Kit. And the reason I use that is because it has the music in one place, it has word definitions, it has history of the song, it has visuals of the moon, visuals of like the things drawn on the moon, so kids know what it looks like, all just in one place. That's there if you're interested. You can find that on the links page. So your lose it for the week is lose this idea that you must do everything themed around the season or the holiday. You don't. Okay. All that said, enough. Because in future weeks, you're going to hear me talk lots about the Nutcracker. I'm sure, because I love Nutcrackers. And if you want to follow and do some of those themed seasonal things, great. But that's another thing. Even with the Nutcracker, I say to my students, like, okay, so now you know the story. Is it about Christmas? And they're like, yes. And I was like, but is it really? Because she gets the Nutcracker for Christmas, but what if she got it for her birthday? What if she got it for her bar mitzvah? What if she got it for something else? Does anything else really have to do with Christmas other than she's getting these presents to the Nutcracker she just got it at Christmas? Not really. And so we talk about, like, it happens at Christmas, so they make it a Christmas story, but does it ever like, ooh, we're going to go to Bethlehem? No, it's nothing to do with that. So anyway, so it doesn't have to be themed around time of year. Okay, the thing I want to talk about that you should use or think about or try or learn more about is this really, really cool new resource I have in my room. So this is the Artifont Orba, and it's a cool like digital instrument, and it can do like a million things. Okay, so if you can't see it right now, it's tiny. It's like, it fits right in my hand. It's designed to do that. And it is like, I don't know, the diameter of a coaster, I guess, but it's just like an inch or two tall. It's not very big, but it can do some really cool things. So it's a digital instrument. So right now it's set on drums. Yeah. I love that one. So it can make these sounds. I'm just pressing the buttons. And there are, 8 little buttons around the side, and in the center is another button where you can change it. So go from drums, you can do bass. Let's see if I go down. You can change the octave if you want. Okay, that's bass. Here's chords. Again, you can change octave. That's a little high for me. Oh, whoops. Moved over to the next one. Hold on. And then it has a lead vocal. But so those are just the main like sounds you can get. But the cool thing is that it's like responsive. So if I like wiggle my finger, if I tilt it, you get different sounds. Like my favorite thing, the thing that I've used like so often, is you can shake it and get a shaker sound. If you hit the side, it gives you a sound. So it's like super fun and versatile what you can do with it. And this is just like the beginning stuff. If I go on to, of course, there's an app that goes with it. It can sync through Bluetooth. And let me open up the app and just change. So these are just like the basic sounds, right? But let me add in. Okay, so if I add, I don't know. Let's do pipes. Hello. Let me turn that off. Of course, when I tried this out before I started the video, and then I came back on and it's not paired. Okay, but let me see. Okay, it's on. Here we go. I have to connect it. And there we go. Okay. So the app is really easy to use too. And it has all these extra sounds, all these extra presets, all these extra cool things it can do. Because when you turn the Orba on, It has all these like preset things that it can do completely on its own. And it does have like an auxiliary port, a headphone port, if you wanted to plug it in so that kids could hear all throughout the room, or if you want to make it louder. All that's pretty loud. But let's see. I can put on other kits on here so it gives us different sounds. Here's one called Jive. So the drums it offers are different. Bass a little different. The chords for that one sound similar. I think I got moved over. Well, here it has presets for songs. For all the different things for the drum, the bass, the chord, the lead. Let me do another one just for fun. This one says called Island Brass. So it can do a lot. What it's really meant to do is really, I think it's meant for older music makers, not necessarily for even a classroom setting, although that's how I'm using it, but it's really made for like anyone, because it doesn't rely on written notation. It doesn't rely on these Western ideas of what you must do or how you create. It's really made to be more intuitive. It reminds me a lot of GarageBand. And in fact, when I first started like thinking about how I could use this in my classroom, my thought was like, I'll pair it with GarageBand, or we'll use it in centers where kids can create and try things on their own, and they can. And I've had some kids try a couple things, just like brought it in, and I was like, what could you make? And there's so many things that they can do. And that's really cool. And I don't know if you can see here, but I'll try and make this a little closer. But when you look at the Orba itself, can I do the cool like TikTok thing where you can to make you see it better? When you like look at the Orba, that's not helping at all. Okay, I don't know how to make the Facebook people see this. It has different things on it. So it has your drum, bass, chord, and lead. It also has a record function. You can change the beats per minute for the record function. You can change your octaves, and you can play back things you've already created. That's all really cool. But as I was thinking, how am I going to use this in my classroom? Because I want to use it right now. I don't want to wait until we do GarageBand. I don't want to wait until we do other stuff. How can I use it right now? Can I use it with kindergarten and first grade? How could I do that? So I challenged myself, how can I use this with kindergarten and first grade? And a lot of things came in really easily. Kindergarten are working on steady beat right now, and they love to pat and do a steady beat to literally anything, and this gives us some super fun sounds. So if I just tap a steady beat, if I tap with body percussion, they'll follow me. But if I do something like a drum beat or a cymbal or something, they freak out and love that, right? So I'll do a steady beat, and they'll have to keep that beat on their knees. When the sound changes, I make them move it to a different part, like maybe your shoulder, maybe tap your head, maybe tap somewhere else. That's just with the drum function. I could do that with a tone if I wanted. I could do it with chords. That could test if they can hear me changing, but also just as a different sound for them to work with. So I do that with steady beat with kindergarten. That's one of the things I've been doing, where they do body percussion. I've also had them with different sounds, especially when I get onto the app and I try different sounds. I have them walk to the steady beat, or move to the steady beat, or move their body non-locomotor to the steady beat by swaying, or moving their arms, or moving their head. But I use this as the sound generator, so I'm not running over to the piano. I can be anywhere in the room. Another thing that has been so hilarious and awesome is if a kid is doing super, super great or really needs a confidence boost, I have them come up and let me turn it back to drums. So I'll tap one side and they'll use their finger and tap the other side. They can tap anywhere on the ring, and it creates it lets them play back. The only place they can't touch is the A, because if they touch the A for Artifon, that's the brand name, if they touch the A, it switches from drum to lead to chord or whatever. So I'm touch anywhere except the A. But if I'm tapping, the symbol's a bad example. If I'm tapping and they tap also, the kids love it. And that's such a super huge boost. It lets me see immediately, are they able to match the steady beat or not? But also they just love it. They freak out when they get to come up and do this. So that's a super fun thing that they get to do with me, like one-on-one. Everyone else would be doing body percussion or be tapping the floor, or I'd get, you know, like a Beanie Baby, a beat buddy, and they'd tap the beat buddy, but then that one kid can come up and play. I've been using it as a reward, but you could also use it for individual assessment if you wanted to see if they can match you or not. Super easy to do that. But then being able to touch is like, they like love that. Okay, another thing I was like challenging myself, how else can I use it? So Steady Beat was a super easy way to do that. And then I was like, what if I, like first grade is talking about A and B, so like different sections, so we're talking about form. And I was like, okay, so we're going to do a locomotor and non-locomotor. And for locomotor, you get to move around the room. And for non-locomotor, you have to move, but you have to move to the beat or move to the music, but you can't travel somewhere. You have to be non-locomotor. So I used two different sounds on here. I went from the lead sound to the chord. So this one, they got to move. And I just played around. I didn't have any sort of melody. And the cool thing, if you notice, it's pentatonic. So just like when we take our Orff instruments and we pull off the the fa and ti, so that kids can play around and do whatever, and it sounds really good. Guess what? You have a pentaton here too, so you're getting that pentatonic sound. And so I just play around for the B sections, and then when I'm ready to switch to the A section, I play around for the A section where they're supposed to be a locomotor. I'll switch to a chord. It sounds significantly different. It also can sustain. So if you wanted something very, very, very different, so they could hear like, you know, move and pose for each sustain or something like that, you could absolutely do that. Let me see if I can turn up the volume a little bit. And so it gives me another thing where I can just do A and B. And this was like me the first like 2 days being like, okay, what can I do for kindergarten and first grade? How can I integrate this? Because it's a really cool tool, but if I'm going to get one, I want to use it, and I want to use it a lot. I want to be able to use it with a bunch of different kids. I don't want it to just be something I only pull out for centers and have sitting in a cabinet the rest of the year, because it's an investment. So if I'm going to have it, I want to be able to use it. So those are two ways that like in the first week I was like, great, steady beat practice. Great, A and B section. Great, we're gonna do different examples, and kids are all for it. And at first, it had like the wow factor. Kids were like, ooh, so excited about it, and then it wore off, and then it was just a really cool tool. So anytime I can find a great tool that I know that like I can fit in my hand or fit and sit and easy to use. The one thing that it needs, if you're going to amplify it for like the whole room, you need to be able to use the like the headphone jack, and I'm fine with that. I don't want another thing that Bluetooths to another thing I'm fine with that. Plus also then this, I make sure I know where it is when I'm done. So if I'm using it for the whole class, I could do it like that. But it also, honestly, it's pretty loud, especially if I'm like on the drum function. Kids can hear that mostly through the room, and if they can't, then I'm like, then you're being too loud. Another thing I'll do is I'll take it, and I wear a classroom microphone, so I'll hold it near the microphone. And that's like my cheat way of amplifying it, so that I don't have to like go plug it in. But if I hold it close to my microphone, the microphone picks up the sound very easily, and then I can still have this in my hand, be anywhere in the room, and still amplify. But those are like just a few ways that I'm using this right now. And like I said, the more I have it, I think the more I'm going to be able to do. I have plans for it for when 5th grade comes around later in the year, and they do GarageBand and Google Chrome Lab and all the like technology-based stuff. I've already talked with my tech teacher about how she might be able to integrate this if she wants to. But it's a really cool tool. They're running a Cyber Monday deal right now, but they have 15% off for educators all the time. I put that link on my links page, or if you want to get the code for the 15% off, you could buy one, you could buy a class set. They discount if you buy multiples. So anyway, it's a really cool tool. It's called Orba. There was an original Orba. This is the new version. So if you see Orba or Orba 2 out there, this is the 2, but I don't think they sell the original one. So if you see Orba on their website, it's probably this one. But if you see like Orba 2, that's what they're talking about. But this is from Artifon. And like I said, some of my favorite things are the shaker where... Oh, sorry. Hello. Come on, drums. Or... Oh, well, I got to switch back to my other kit. Anyway, some of the things that I can just take and use all the time. If I use my phone or iPad at school and plug in for the app, that's cool too, but it just does a lot on its own. Anyway, it's a cool tool. Check it out. Like I said, the more I have it, the more I find ways to use it. So grab one, play around with it, try it out if you're interested. But as a recap, my lose it for this video is you should lose the idea that everything needs to be holiday related. It doesn't. You can make things fun and exciting, and it doesn't have to be holiday or seasonal if you don't want. And use it is try the Orba. And if you're like, I don't know, guess what? On the links page, I have a quick little link to a video on YouTube that shows how the Orba can be used in like a ton of different ways. The videos that you're going to find online are slanted towards people who are playing with it at home, trying out things on their own, creating loops, stuff like that. But you can use it for so much more. It's sort of like GarageBand, how it's really slanted for upper grades, but you can find really cool ways to use it for our grades. That's the cool thing about Artifon. So anyway, check it out if you're interested. Check out the YouTube videos. They are like super inspirational and super fun. I see people on Facebook saying this would be cool for someone who's been teaching on a cart. Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. It's like take it with you, and you don't have to worry about the space of hauling all the stuff. So it's super cool. And it even has like little cases in case you're going to give it to kids all the time and they're going to drop it and whatever. So cool things you can get too. Anyway, go check those out. Check out those YouTube videos. They're super fun. Like I said at the beginning too, if you're interested in more PD, all my courses online, the one about ukulele, one about puppets, and one about using centers in your classroom, they're all discounted for today and tomorrow, Cyber Monday and Cyber Tuesday, I don't know. And you can get 25% off if you do that, and you can check that out on the link on my links page. Okay, I'll see you all next week for week 14 of Musical Mondays. Thanks so much for coming along with me tonight, and have a great week, everyone. Bye, everyone.